What if I told you that there was a game coming out that was like Call of Duty? It was an arcade shooter, first person. It was taking a lot of the mechanics from the game, but there was no skill-based matchmaking and it was free to play. You would probably say that this is going to be the biggest shooter ever. You would probably say that Call of Duty is screwed and they're going to have to go free to play. Well, enter XDefiant. It came out around a year ago, and when this game came out, it had a really big launch. At peak, 15 million players had hopped on and played this game. But it being free to play, Ubisoft, who was the producers of this game, didn't really make any money off of that. It was up to microtransactions to make up that cost. Yesterday, however, XDefiant announced that they are shutting down, specifically sunsetting. So as of December 3rd, 2024, new downloads, player registrations, and purchases will no longer be available. Season 3 will still launch. However, as of June 3rd, 2025, servers will be shutting down. People are getting refunded, and even the lead developer, Mark Rubin, put out a statement saying that the game was being shut down. The question is, how does this happen? How does a game as big as XDefiant not make money? And on top of that, a game that is also released by Ubisoft like Skull and Bones, which is again a live service game, how is that one still functioning while XDefiant is not? That is the question. And today we try to answer that. So in answering the question how this failed, the first thing I want to look at is some numbers. As it comes out through this, about 180 people were laid off from San Francisco and other offices because of this game. Now, if we take that number of 180 people, I saw reports as high as 270 and as low as 170. I'm going with the number 180. Now, let's just say they're in San Francisco. On average, maybe they're getting paid around $80,000. We're just going to take this number for some simple math. That brings us to $14.4 million a year. If we divide that by 12 for 12 months in a year, that is about $1.2 million a month that XDefiant needs to make just to make up the cost of the developers and staff that they are paying. This doesn't include the cost for servers. This doesn't include the cost for marketing. $1.2 million. So if you have 100,000 players paying $10 a month for microtransactions, you are still not making up enough cost. Keep in mind, there's no way there's 100,000 concurrent players in this game. I'm thinking maybe between 5 and 10,000. So there is no way they are making up that development cost in each and every month. This is one of the problems with free-to-play games. Most of the games that end up going free to play end up becoming gotcha games. In other words, games that you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on, because the only way that these games can make money isn't by the masses, but rather by whales. A few, I don't even know what number, 100 individual players who spend a ton of money completely funding the game themselves. Therefore, we get gotcha games. So that is reason number one. They weren't making up the development costs nearly as much as they needed to be. Therefore, it begins to fail. But why? Why was it failing? Why did they not have enough players? Well, starting off with the release of the game. The release of the game happened much too late. Originally, the beta was released during Modern Warfare 2 with one of the biggest downfalls of Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty is going to be brought up a lot in this because it is the main competitor to XDefiant, and it was the game that XDefiant was completely basing their marketing off of. We will get to that in a minute, not to mention the developers of it previously worked on Call of Duty. But they released the beta during Modern Warfare 2, one of the biggest down periods for Call of Duty and Warzone ever, and the beta boomed. But then they said, we need to fix up this game, and it wasn't released until like a year later. And at that point, Modern Warfare 3 had come out, and they have fixed most of the problems that Modern Warfare 2 caused. The game was no longer in this hugely negative light, and now XDefiant had a very big competitor. Not to mention, another huge arcade shooter was right around the corner with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which was even more of a direct competitor. But they had one thing left up their sleeve: the fact that XDefiant had no skill-based matchmaking. Oddly, this is their next downfall, but not because there was no skill-based matchmaking. If anything, that was the one thing that helped this game out. The downfall comes in when the only thing that XDefiant was marketing was the fact that they had no skill-based matchmaking. There wasn't any forethought into any other game systems that XDefiant had that Call of Duty didn't. There wasn't that wow factor. The wow factor was no skill-based matchmaking. But if you have a game where you only have one gun and there's no skill-based matchmaking, obviously that game is not going to be successful just based off of the fact that there's no skill-based matchmaking. The other things have to be there, the content has to be there, and the dopamine has to be there. Now, one complaint that I have seen with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is that it is like you are constantly playing a slot machine, not because you're gambling or things are up to chance, but constantly lights are flashing on screen, numbers are popping up, you're completing challenges, you're leveling up. It is a lot. It is clearly a game made for the TikTok era. That is 100% confirmed. But let's be honest, psychology works, and when those things are popping up and you feel like you're completing things, you stay, you play longer, and you spend more money. XDefiant didn't have that dopamine rush because all of their marketing and all of their development was put in saying, hey, we're like Call of Duty, but we have no skill-based matchmaking and we are free to play. So the game systems weren't there. They waited too long to put in things like prestiging, extra challenges, all of these things that people were asking for, said needed to be in the game, never came. And when they came too late. So again, a very big problem. The problem with XDefiant releasing is this was a new game that was stuck in the past. This was created by ex-Call of Duty developers and specifically marketed to old school Call of Duty players who played maybe Call of Duty 4 or Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 1, where skill-based matchmaking wasn't a thing. It was completely an arcade shooter. But there's a reason why Call of Duty has moved forward, moved past those games and implemented systems, albeit annoying most of the time, bring in more players. And with that old school Call of Duty player falling out of vogue and less of them being in the wild, this game may have been doomed to fail from the beginning because that old school Call of Duty player, half of them have moved on to something new and half of them have moved on to Elden Ring. But if you look at me, I think I'm a perfect example of what happened with this game, because personally to me, the game came out and I played it for like, I want to say a week straight. I started leveling up guns. The weapon leveling system wasn't that great. I was leveling up my character. The character leveling system wasn't that great. I played the game. The game was pretty good. I think it is the best competitor that is currently out there to Call of Duty. But the innovation just wasn't there. One of the decisions they made was to not have kill streaks, not have score streaks, and instead have these special abilities. I think that is completely fine, making it more of like a hero shooter. And those hero abilities were good. But the thing that we're missing is new. There wasn't anything there that Call of Duty hadn't done before. There wasn't anything there that put a wow factor into the game. There wasn't anything there to give you that dopamine hit every time you play to keep you bringing you back. And if we look at other games that have been successful with the free-to-play model, let's go Fortnite, let's go Apex Legend. These games have something that gives dopamine other than just completing challenges, whether that be winning a battle royale, whether that be having a close game and winning. There was nothing in XDefiant that actually gave that feeling. And don't get me wrong, I don't think XDefiant was a bad game. The one thing they suffered from was poor netcode. The game felt like you weren't hitting bullets when you actually were or weren't, depending on the situation. Call of Duty is having this exact same problem with Black Ops 6, and I think it's actually one of the #1 causes that people are hopping off the game currently. But with Call of Duty, the difference is every single week we are getting playlist updates. We are constantly having new seasons or a season reloaded. There is new maps, new weapons, new events, constantly being added in. And they are able to do so because their development team is so large and they have so many people working on the game. I don't know what that number is, but it's in the thousands. For sure, guaranteed. And a game like XDefiant that's free to play and isn't making enough money can't afford to hire the people to make it so that there is constantly content streaming into their game, more dopamine, more things going on. So we're stuck. We're stuck there with the game that we have with no skill-based matchmaking that is free to play that really doesn't make any advancements in the first-person shooter genre. That's what I saw, and that's why I think the downfall of XDefiant happened. Now, this is my opinion, and if you disagree, you can let me know what you think down in the comments. If you have any other reasons, I would love to hear what you're thinking as well. It's sad. I feel horrible for the families of the developers. It's right before Christmas and they're getting laid off. That's absolutely awful. And honestly, with a game like this, it's actually good if you're a Call of Duty fan to have a game like this out there, because if this game thrives, it would push Call of Duty in the direction of having to make some more decisions to compete with it. Maybe skill-based matchmaking could have potentially been removed. And you could argue lack of SBMM could have been a reason why the game failed. Now, I don't think that's the case, but people are going to make that argument, and there's definitely some validity behind it. So, like I said, let me know what you're thinking. This has been the fall of XDefiant. I know it's not a Call of Duty video, but let me know what you're thinking. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn notifications on, and until next time.
We are reaching for the stars.